The secret sauce is being a good person.
Yeah.
Like my dad said, there's one thing, you can do all kinds of things. The one thing that you can change your appearance, you really can't change your name. You can. He goes, your name, you carry your name. If it carries it well, you carry it well, all the rewards come with that.
Hey there, and welcome to Above and Beyond, the podcast where excellence meets elevation. I'm your host, Jan Simon, and I'm here to bring you real, unfiltered conversations with the people who are pushing boundaries and building something bigger than themselves. Digging in on mindset, mission, and the moments that shape these high performers and purpose-driven leaders. Whether you're chasing your next level or just getting started, you're in the right place. This is more than a podcast. It's a mindset, and we're taking it above and beyond. Today's guest is trailblazing Puerto Rican comedian, entrepreneur, and proud family man originally from New York. With 19 years in stand-up comedy and 15 years as a business owner, he has built a career that fuses hustle, humor, and heart, leaving his mark on both the comedy circuit and the business world. He is the only Hispanic comedian in the country who consistently headlines urban comedy markets, earning respect and laughs in every major market, coast to coast. He's a regular at renowned clubs like Mic Drop San Diego and has performed across the United States. His comedic style is electric, relatable, and unapologetically real, connecting with diverse audiences everywhere. Beyond the mic, he is the owner and founder of Total Corporate Services, LLC, based in Gilbert, Arizona, and Total AZ Furnishings, a thriving home showroom in Phoenix known for design on a dime solutions. With over a decade of leadership, he's built businesses that reflect his vision, grit, and deep commitment to community. He split his downtime between homes in Arizona and Hawaii, balancing a bustling career with family life. He's a proud father of 5 children and grandfather to 9 grandchildren, often sharing heartfelt moments with them on social media. Whether he's posting uplifting jokes, candid family snapshots, or showing love for his heritage, Rob keeps it authentic. From Instagram and Facebook to Threads, Rob's social presence offers fans a behind-the-scenes look at life on tour, business highlights, and everyday moments of gratitude and humor. He's not just performing, he's building a movement grounded in culture, connection, and comedy. He is more than a comedian. He's a cultural force, a proud Puerto Rican voice in comedy, and a savvy businessman, and a dedicated father and grandfather. He continues to elevate every stage he steps on and every room he builds. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to introduce Rob, Big Rob Rodriguez.
No Big Rob no more.
No Big Rob. Yeah, I say you're not as big now. This is crazy. So I was trying to think about how long I've known you, and I mean.
Well, we're probably going to go back. It'll be somewhere close to 20 years, 17 to 20 years, because our mutual friends.
Yeah.
And I've known them since I've been in Arizona. I've been in Arizona 21 years.
Okay.
So I moved from the East Coast, and then we met through those friends, and then we were playing sports together, things like that. So that's when we were going through our midlife crisis.
Trying to pretend we were still young.
Yeah, no kidding. You're like the craziest basketball player I know. Diving through bushes and
I could not play well, so I had to hustle.
Oh, yeah, your hustle was unbelievable. No matter what you did, too. It was pretty funny, yeah.
That's awesome. So I appreciate you coming on. Rob, you're probably the best comedian I know, personally.
I've gotten better. It wasn't like that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But now I'm on national tour. I've been actually on tour with different headliners, even doing my own headlining. On tour, I am, I think, almost 9 years in.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, 8 years, 9 years on tour all over the country.
That's incredible.
So I'm on tour 2 to 3 weekends a month.
Wow. That's got to be a grind.
It is. The getaway time is good. It's hard. It's hard when like everything. I appreciate the intro. Sounds real impressive. It sounds tiring. People are like, that's bullshit. He doesn't do all of that. But yeah, I do that plus more. It's one of those unique lives. So between owning the businesses here actually they've rebranded. So It's Solutions AZ, which is
Okay.
a furniture installation business for corporate.
Okay.
And then there's Total AZ Wholesale, which is where we sell furniture.
Okay.
So, and then I've been in the corporate furniture world for 27 years.
Okay.
I was doing that before I came to Arizona.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't start comedy until I came to Arizona. People like to think because I got that East Coast flair. I didn't start comedy until I came to Arizona. So that was probably 2005, maybe 2006.
Okay.
And I would travel actually more back and forth because at that time, Arizona, number one, still isn't a hotbed of comedy. It's hot,
Right.
but it ain't enough for
That's not what
comedy.
people think about.
We have a ton of clubs now. You probably saw me like years ago in my up and coming. And then I would fly back and do like open mics. Like people would want me to do LA. And I went to LA and got intimidated because West Coast culture is different, Southwest. So you mentioned a couple of times I'm Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican, that's a Mexican from the East Coast. Good Social Security number, bad credit.
So they get your jokes out there.
They get my jokes out there. Because what I would do is I found it amazing. Arizona culture was white and Mexican. And then at that time,
And you're Rodriguez, so everybody just figured you're
Rodriguez, they think I'm Mexican till I start talking. And they're like, you don't have a Mexican accent. You talk crap. You talk shit. Like, so, but to me, it was fascinating because
Yeah.
I come from New York. New York is a plethora of ethnicities and immigration, true.
Yeah.
So you have 3, 4, 5 different types of Latinos, Hispanics. You have Caribbean, you have African American, then white. You're not just white in New York. You're white by what you really are: Irish, Jewish, German, and that's how it's divided in New York. And old school New York, you would divide it in neighborhoods like that: Little Italy, Chinatown, and Spanish Harlem. So like I grew up that. I come to Arizona, it's freaking cowboys and tacos.
like a lot of
Yeah.
white guys, a lot of Mexicans.
Yeah. Love the Mexicans to cut your grass and make you tacos, but you don't want to live next to them. Like, get them out. So I came in, and it was in the beginning. It was like the SP 270 or whatever it was,
SB 1070.
1070.
Yeah, yep.
And that was crazy. I'm like, when Arizona was really derived from Mexico.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, there's no way. Because then the more I found out about the culture, I'm like, not even the Mexicans here are different.
Yeah.
Like Mexicans that are here legally would never want to relate to Mexicans that are coming over that they call nationals. And then I look and see, my business was, we built corporate furniture and businesses and government installations.
Yeah.
So during the Obama administration, he put in a whole bunch of money to build the new port of entry in Nogales. So I went down to Nogales, and we were building all the Homeland Security, border security, all their new offices and that. Then I looked, everybody was Mexican. So I'm like, so you mean to tell me you have legal Mexicans whose job here is to protect and keep illegal Mexicans coming in from Mexico? That don't happen nowhere else.
No.
You couldn't have Puerto Ricans at the border
They
trying to
just let
keep Puerto Rican. We're letting everybody in.
on
Jaime's
over.
coming
Yeah,
in. Johnny's, little Johnny, I know you said you was a kid.
Yeah.
Come in. Like we're not stopping everybody. Down there, they were like, heck no, we're not letting anybody in.
Yeah.
So it was like that culture thing. And then it was just white and Mexican. Because then, always had good jobs, nice houses here. I lived in these new communities. And the white neighbors would look at me and say, like, especially I lived in Gilbert, right? So they'd look at me like, what are you doing here? And then I knew the difference. Because when I knew the difference, Halloween. You live in Gilbert and Halloween, you know who's not from the neighborhood.
They all.
'Cause all the white kids come at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and they're coming with these fancy Halloween buckets and their parents and that. 8 o'clock, everybody's gone, and who comes? The Mexicans with Food City bags to do trick or treat and pillowcases.
Pillowcases.
Yeah, and the Mexican family with lowrider. Like, it was like real stuff. So I'm like, wow, that's a culture thing here.
Yeah.
But comparing it to the East Coast, that's where you learn. But it was like a respect thing. Because at that time, I considered myself a Democrat, like most minorities. That's because that's how I grew up. My parents weren't political. My dad was a detective in New York, and my mother worked for the DEA. But I was a little bit of a rogue child. But we always grew well. I lived in the suburbs in New York. I had relatives that lived in like the projects or the equivalent of, let's say, the ghetto and things like that. So we were always at a little bit. So I came out here, I'd have white neighbors looking at you like, hey, how do you afford this house? How do you drive a nice car? Things like that.
Yeah.
But I was a child of white flight because when we moved to the suburbs in the 70s, we saw white families move because they were not used to growing up with minorities. And that's how interesting I bring that story up now. I don't bring it because how crazy things are going now, but you learn the culture of both places. So people used to think I'd get insulted out here in Arizona. I'm like, not at all. It's a culture thing. And here's the thing. I realized that people that grew up in Arizona, especially white folks, they didn't know any different. They didn't go around blacks.
Yeah.
You didn't have contingencies of blacks families. Like here, they live in certain areas. You know, they live in South Phoenix, the West Side, things like that. They weren't in Gilbert. They weren't in Chandler, and not at that time.
Yeah.
It was so it's interesting when you grow up that way. And all of that, I say all of that to say, that's actually what brought me into comedy.
Okay.
The culture change, because people always say I didn't start comedy until I was 36 years old. And the culture change of comedy was me seeing the difference. Things that went on out here, Southwest, West Coast, compared to East Coast.
Gotcha.
And I found it humorous. So I would go to and start trying to perform in Arizona, which is good. You start out as a new comic performing for your friends.
Yeah.
So you're funny in front of your friends, but you're funny in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
So now a crowd that doesn't know you. So I learned that also. Even my wife was like, I hid from her the first time I was doing an open mic.
Yeah.
And then when I told her, she was like, well, you're funny around people. She's like, well, you think you can be funny in front of a crowd? I said, well, I married you, didn't I?
Oh, no.
That was my first. She got really upset about it, but it actually was one of the first hitting jokes I've ever said. So a lot of my humor has to do with like just real life topics.
Yeah.
Being a middle-aged man, family man, being a minority, being a business owner, growing up East Coast, I was a bad kid too. Even though I was an honor student, went to St. John's University. I just did a couple of bad things. I ended up going to jail for a little while, things like that. Like I grew up, I was hard on myself.
Gotcha.
Not because I grew up in a bad position.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about your childhood. You grew up in New York.
This episode of Above and Beyond is brought to you by the amazing sponsors who help bring this show to life. A heartfelt thank you to Above Par Network, elevating connections and creating impact. Foundation Insurance Services, protecting what matters most with confidence and care. Meritum Credit Card Processing, empowering businesses through expert consulting and unwavering support. And Rocks and Calligraphy, bringing beauty and personal flair to every handwritten detail. We're proud to partner with these outstanding businesses who share our passion for excellence. For more about our sponsors and exclusive podcast content, visit abovebeyondpodcast.com.
I'm one of seven. But it's a blended family. Not three of my siblings were my cousins.
Okay.
Whose mother died, and she was a single mom, and my dad adopted them.
Gotcha.
I was young. I think I was 11 at the time. I'm the oldest of all my siblings.
Okay.
And we adopted them. I had two brothers from my parents. So we grew up as a family of six.
Okay.
And then when my father my father and mother were separated, really like late in life, my dad had a relationship and had a seventh child.
Oh, okay.
So there's seven of us. So everyone lives in Arizona except for my youngest sister.
Okay.
Otherwise, everybody else is here.
Did they follow you? Did they follow your parents?
They followed my parents. When my dad retired, him and my mom went to the resort city of Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, lovely place.
That's why I didn't come out at first. They would move out and visit, and I was the last one to migrate. They were already here almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Before I decided I came to visit them. And tragic story, came out to visit him for my dad's 53rd birthday. Brought my children with me at the time. And I saw my dad wasn't doing well. Him and my mom were in that split, but they were still together. And I decided at that time I'm going to buy a house. So my brother, who was big in real estate at the time, or just getting big, and he was working for Doug at the time, Doug Hopkins. So he knew, but I didn't like Tucson. So my wife and I came up here and visited, went to some communities, and at that time, Power Ranch was just being built.
Okay, yep.
It only had one of the 4 or 5 communities that are in there now, and we fell in love with it. So we bought a house on the Greenbelt. That was the tragic thing was, put signed the contract, put the money down. My dad died like a month and a half, so I never got a chance to be out here with him.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was trying to get out there, so it was tough. And then my mom died like 9 years later of lung cancer. So my dad died of hypertension.
Okay.
And so my siblings, now I'm the oldest sibling. So now I've recently, last 10 years, I've been the sibling that they all look up to. My dad's, he's died. He's been dead 21 years almost. But so as a child, I was the oldest. My kids, my siblings are great. We're very close. But it was hard. You know, you get to that point where people, I get very envious of people that still have their parents alive.
Yeah.
Both mine died in their 50s, and now I'm in my 50s, and I don't get a chance to enjoy them.
Right.
So,
growing up in New York, were you involved in sports? You're
I did. I played lacrosse.
a basketball player?
Yeah, Sam. I talk. My mouth is better than anything else. Of course, you can remember.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would get banned from the court sometimes. A funny story here. I started trying to play adult basketball. I lasted one Sunday
Oh, yeah.
because I went on the court and I was talking so much
They kicked
shit.
you out.
No, some guy thought he could talk, and that's one thing you can't
Yeah,
do with me. You're not gonna out talk. You're not gonna out crap.
Right.
Like here, you know who learned the hard way? Boogie Cousins. I had floor seats for the Suns, and me and him got into such a big fight. NBA ended up finding him and giving me money because he and I had words
No
right on
kidding.
the floor. Yeah.
No kidding. That's too fun.
And part of it is Doug Hopkins' fault.
Okay.
Doug, because they egged him on because they knew we had two incidences of me and him going back and forth. I wasn't talking to him. I'll never disrespect a professional athlete while they're playing.
Yeah.
But he's the type of guy. Matter of fact, he just got kicked off of his team in Puerto Rico. He doesn't even play professional anymore because he's such a bad teammate. Nobody would have him. So I just read a story literally 2 hours ago.
That's too funny.
And I'm like, he's such a piece of crap
Yeah.
because he was disrespectful. But yes, I play sports. I played football. I had a scholarship to Penn State.
Okay.
Ended up going to St. John's, but only played a year, first year of college, because I was young and dumb and in love.
Yeah.
I fell in love. I wanted to go into the military. I tried to go into the military. I was accepted. The day I was going in, they denied me because of my thumb, and they put me on medical review. That's when I actually met my first wife, and then they cleared me, but I was in love. So I said, no, I'm not going into the Air Force. I'm going to start a family.
Yeah.
So that's where I was that type of hardhead. I was an honor student. I had multiple scholarships for lacrosse. I wrestled in high school. I was always a like you say, like you're a hustler, right? I was never great at anything. I was just good at a lot of things.
Yeah. You could pick up a ball and do it.
And you know what? I
Pretend
didn't
well.
have the strongest arm, but I can quarterback because I knew strategy. Lacrosse, I was definitely just a hustler. Lacrosse is like soccer on steroids. I would run. You can hit. I can run this field. I was always fast, so I can always. And then my psyche is probably better than anything. I can psychologically take most people out of their game.
Yeah.
No matter what, because they're not used
I would
to
say
it.
I've witnessed you talk some trash.
Not just trash. That's the white word. I talk some
Some shit. I'll tell you, I remember specifically one time I thought there was going to be fists thrown.
Oh yeah, for sure. The first time.
Like, we got to
I
calm this
can't- I
down.
can't play. Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So we would play basketball, right, every Saturday, right, at KK's house. I was still playing flag football at the time. It was actually contact flag because you can go straight up hands. You couldn't push off, but it was hard, and it was adult league.
Yeah.
So I played with a couple of friends of mine. They brought me in, and I loved it. It was great. I was heavy at the time, so I played the line, but I was still quick, and we would play. Now, sometimes we'd play some really good teams. They'd kick our behinds, and then sometimes we would be on top. So the one thing that was consistent, I took no crap. I just talked crap all the time. So 2 incidents happened. One, ASU was in their off season,
Okay.
and they put a team out.
Oh, no.
So now I'm on the line. I'm playing a guy that's like 6'8",
Legit line.
legit like 6'8", maybe 280.
And no offense, but you're not a very tall Puerto Rican.
Yeah, no, I'm 5'11". At that time, I was probably 5'11", 270.
Okay.
He's 280, 6'8".
Yeah.
So you weren't allowed to move your hands as much. You couldn't swing around. But this guy, because he was an ASU player at the time, I forget his name, he thought he was playing on, I'm Oregon or something, or freaking USC. So he's kicking my ass with swinging his arms, trying to do these swim moves. I'm like, listen, retard, you can't do this. You can push right through me. Just do that. You got me. He wouldn't listen to me. So I said, listen, you got one more time. So we're on the line. He's like, yeah, whatever. So the next time he goes to swing his arm, I swing my arm up. I hit him in the face. Of course, not intentionally.
Yeah.
I break his nose.
Oh, no way.
Blood starts pouring out. And it's like, if you ever watched The Longest Yard,
Yeah.
I think I broke his fucking freaking nose. Yeah. So that's how it was. And I'm like, I told you. And then the ref throws a flag. So the guy thinks the flag is on me. It's on him. And I warned him. And the ref was
Really?
like, yeah, because he shouldn't be moving his arm
Shouldn't be
around.
doing that.
But then I would talk, so I would threaten to kick. Because people they think they could talk back. That's why I stopped playing adult softball. Because I would pitch. And I talk crap. And then they start trying to hit it up the middle.
Oh, it's
Then
trying to hit you.
They're trying to hit me, which is supposed to be like an unwritten rule. You don't hit up the middle on slow pitch.
Right.
So I would want to go get a bat and beat the. That's how I was. I'm always going to defend myself, even if I think I'm in a no-win situation.
I was playing softball one season. I don't remember who the group was that I was playing with at this point, but guy was pitching, took a ball right in the mouth.
No, it's crazy. So then they started doing it. They tried to do it on purpose because I'm talking crap.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the thing. It's funny. When you're a kid, it's good. I still do it now as an adult. People can't handle it. So it would be like,
You
I
take
slow
people
down on the
back.
sports. Yeah, so I'm playing at LA Fitness one time, right when I was going Greenfield. And like basketball today is different, right? Because we had stopped playing outdoor.
Yep.
Like KK became an old man and
He doesn't play anymore.
No, he changed it to a pickleball court. That's the white retarded version of what white people do when they can't
When they
tennis
play
anymore and they think they're too tough for badminton. They created pickleball. And now it's the biggest
That's all.
craze all over the place.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I'm like, I wish I would. I wish you would catch me. But I'm interested now, just because I'm competitive. I love ping pong.
I'll tell you, I've played, and it is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
because
especially
it's like a big version of ping pong.
I'm a competitive person, and my body still thinks I'm 18, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you
Or I
don't have
should
to
say
move
my
that
mind,
much because
yeah.
it's small. So everybody I know is doing it. And they're like, hey, you got to play ping pong. I'm like, pickleball. But yeah, I remember, so I'm playing with these young kids. But all these young kids want to do is shoot threes.
Oh.
I'm running up and down the court. You know how we do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to play defense. And I'm like, listen, if one of you freaking retards don't pass the ball,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm not running up and down like Asian kid starts talking crap. So, okay. So they give him the ball. He's down low. He starts trying to push
Bumping
it to
into
me.
you.
Like, wait, you're not doing that.
Did you
I
pull
don't
the
think
chair or
you are.
just knock him down?
Dude, I tied him up so bad. He got up, his glasses were crooked, everything else. It got bad.
Yeah.
Somebody else said that. I'm like, you know what? I'll kick the crap out of you too. It just, for some reason, it just gets to, people can't handle trash talk. And then they think I'm trash talking to get you out your psych.
Yeah.
Not because, and I know that turns people down. So fast forward a month later, my daughter was going to Perry, going to a Perry football game, and see these kids in front of me, they keep looking back at us. So my wife's like, why are they looking back at you? Then I look, it's a little Asian kid, and I hear him telling them, that's that old dude that was trying to kick my ass at the basketball. No. And my daughter looks at me like, really, Dad? You're freaking fighting with a freaking 17-year-old at Perry? I'm like, hey, he's on the court. He was talking like a man. You talk like a man.
Yeah.
That's the school I came from.
I think we've lost that a little bit in society.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like these kids know that they can get away with talking trash, and as an adult,
they
you're like,
can. Yeah.
push it so far. I was talking on an earlier podcast, and we were talking about teaching, and people used to tell me all the time, you should be a teacher and a coach. I'm like, I couldn't.
No, I did. I was an assistant dean.
Punch a kid.
I was an assistant dean in New York before I got into facilities management and furniture. And these kids were so bad, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So one time I had a situation with a kid. I went to his class, and he starts yelling at me from the classroom. Man, Mr. Rodriguez, I can't believe you called my mom. You better never. He came out and got in my face. I grabbed him by the throat, put him up against the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you ever talk to me like that, I said, did I talk to you like that? He calmed down. Another teacher sees it and reports it.
You get in trouble.
They come. So this is like this is probably 1999, 2000. So we still haven't even converted to what it is now. With
Yeah.
the little punk kids that people raise. So they called me in and asked me. I said, oh, most certainly. But the kid sees me in the hall. He says, Mr. Rodriguez, I just want to let you know they're trying to get you. Because they brought me in to wanted me to write a statement. I wouldn't write a statement. Because I knew what you were trying to do. It was like a respect thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was a minority neighborhood, too. So,
Yeah.
And at that point, I got out of, I had aspirations to get my degrees. And at that time, I can do certification as an assistant dean. And I lost complete interest in that. Because I saw that now what you're doing is becoming a policeman to other kids that are being brought up and just not being raised.
Right.
Whether they have both parents or not, that's the biggest thing. So that's why I was the father that I was to my children. So,
Yeah. I think too often people look to somebody else to do the hard job.
well, they do. So partly to some parents, unfortunately, to defend some parents in this economy, if you're not disciplined enough, you got to work 2-3 jobs. And what lacks at that point is family time, quality time. That's what happened with my dad.
Yeah.
My dad retired when he retired, the highest paid cop in America. Same name of mine. You can look it up. It was in Newsweek, 1996, 97. He made more money than, I want to say Ed Koch was the the mayor of New York at the time. In any event, he was in Newsweek as the highest paid cop in America. His final years on the force, he made 200 at the time, and this was big money.
Yeah.
This is 97. He retired at 260.
Wow.
Now his same police force in New York, those cops make 400,000. But at that time, he was there. But I say that to say that he spent so much time working.
Yeah.
He wasn't at home. Now we had the best house. He did everything he could for us, but it doesn't replace.
Quality time.
Yeah, because so I've always coached my kids. One of the things that I didn't give you in I also took the first minority team to the White House to play for George Bush.
Oh, wow.
In 2002. I started out coaching my children. Then I became president of the Little League. I had the most successful minority league at the time in the suburbs in New York. We ended up losing there was a big scandal in 2000, Danny Almonte. That was a team from the Bronx. He was the 14-year-old Dominican kid that ended up pitching and going all the way to the World Series in Little League Baseball, which is a big accomplishment. Then they found out he was 14 years old. Well, he beat us on the way, able to go to the World Series. And that was the reward that Little League gave us because we got cheated had a great team, but we got cheated out of the opportunity to play in the Little League World Series. And what they did was they allowed me to it was a T-ball team. At that time, George Bush had a program where you take a team to the White House and play on the White House lawn.
How cool is that?
So now we were scheduled to play on September 17th. So that was 6 days.
Yeah, after.
So they canceled it,
Okay.
and that's why we played in 2002. So I have a letter. George Bush sent me a personal letter apologizing for having to cancel.
Yeah.
It was the weekend right after September 11th. So we go the following year, but they pick it. We go on Cinco de Mayo. Now, in New York, we don't know what the heck Cinco de Mayo is. I think in Arizona, we don't. It's like St. Patrick's Day for
party.
Mexicans. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. So, but we did. I got a chance to sit with George and Laura Bush. Like, it was like an unbelievable experience.
That is awesome.
They held Laura Bush, my daughter, who's actually just had my 9th grandchild. She held her, and my daughter was 3 at the time.
Wow.
So, yeah, Laura Bush got a chance to hold my daughter. I didn't know at the time that both Bushes spoke fluent Spanish.
No kidding.
So my team was half black, half Spanish.
Okay.
From the neighborhood we lived in. And I sat there for like an hour and a half talking to him and Laura Bush for this game. ESPN had it set up. It was an unbelievable time. I wish there were cameras at the time, and I'm sure there's video. I got to get a hold of Little League Baseball because I'm sure they have footage.
Gotta be something in archive somewhere.
Archive somewhere that I can get that footage.
Yeah.
But it was unbelievable. Like that was like, so that put me big into youth sports.
Okay.
So after I was a young dad, got married young, and I was always there, coached my children in basketball, baseball. Then I came to Arizona, and I was president of the law. I made it. At the time, it wasn't. I was Queen Creek Heat softball.
Okay.
My daughter started playing at the age of 5. It was the second largest female softball league, little league in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we went from 200 girls to 580 girls in 3
Holy
years.
s-
So I had all the girls here because it's the Queen Creek area, South Gilbert, where I lived in Power Ranch. All of that area was so developing, of course, in the
yeah.
in the 2000s, that by 2008, 2009, we had
Just
to leave.
exploded.
Had the first teams that, as president of the league, we had the first adult team that was state. When I say adult, actually teenage girls that were state champs. Went to the regionals. They were great girls. They were part of this great basher group that won state, like 2, 3 state championships in the mid 2000s.
Okay.
So I was just always around kids, always around sports, develop. That was a big deal. It's still a big deal now. Everybody's kid, is a baseball player, basketball player.
Yeah.
My wife owns a dance studio in Queen Creek called the New Evolution
Okay.
Studio. So we're separated now, but she has this studio also that has, I think, over 400 girls that dance
Wow,
there.
no kidding.
Started out, we bought the studio. She has a partner. Bought the studio 11 years
Wow.
ago, and so it's always been about development, family, things like that. So,
Now, you have a daughter that's big into dance, right?
so the two of them, the softball player also danced, but my other daughter, she was on World of Dance for 2 years.
Okay.
She competed on Ocotillo and on World of Dance. They were the first Arizona female group
Okay.
to
I
perform.
think I remember that.
Yeah, she was big. It was real exciting. Went to Universal Studios, watched the tapings. It was pretty good. And she actually danced with Rihanna in the Super Bowl.
No kidding.
Yeah, so she was on stage with Rihanna during the Super Bowl. It was so she was good. And my other daughter played Division I softball, and the one that was a dancer, she's actually gets married in August.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, that's my youngest. So she's getting married in August, and then I just had my daughter that played softball. She just had her second child, and I just had my 9th grandchild.
It's so crazy. I feel like, obviously, we've been friends for a while, but I feel like some of the pictures of you, because you would post pictures of driving to and from softball games or
She was
something.
always
She's
sleeping.
sleeping in the car.
Everybody, and you
And
know
I
what's
feel
so
like that was
funny?
just
Everybody-
yesterday.
I put that up sometimes, and that's where that's when social media was really starting to pick up. But that was the funniest thing to me. Like I was in my comedy career, and then to me, I was like a sleeping pill. The minute we get in the car, whether it was a 10-minute ride or 10-hour drive, she was asleep.
That's funny.
Knocked out. Because she's a diabetic. She's a type 1 diabetic. So she would just be exhausted after.
Yeah, so funny.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, all of that has developed me to always be a hustler. Like, I didn't start my own business until I left my company I was doing it for here in Arizona. But then I was coaching. My comedy career was going on, but it didn't take off until my daughter actually got recruited and signed for college. Then I stopped coaching her, and then I started touring.
Okay.
So that was one of the things I always meant to stay. I always try to stay with my kid, with my family.
Yeah.
So it was something that was important because I think that's the key. The key is at least give them a choice. If they're going to be screw-ups, they're going to be screw-ups.
Yeah.
But don't be the reason why they're a screw-up.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely, for
So
sure.
They have to make their own choices and decisions. And I know parents, there's no right or wrong way. But I always said to myself, it was the same thing my father told me. Even though I ended up being a badass at times, I was still a great kid. But it was my decision.
Yeah.
I can't blame it because my dad wasn't around. He gave us this beautiful life and raised us. And I think that's what we lose now.
Yeah.
Because now, remember, we didn't grow up with the social media world,
Right.
podcasts,
Can't imagine.
streaming, being able to see whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah.
No, you were rich if you had cable and you had HBO.
If you had 4 channels, you were rich.
Yeah, you were like, oh my gosh, you got cable?
Yeah.
Watching,
You got a box on top of your TV
Oh
that
my
gives
God,
you
yeah,
what?
yeah,
And it doesn't have a paper clip in the back?
Yeah, our box was connected to the TV. We had this old school.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I had to connect it to the TV. So if you had a long cord, you could sit in a chair as long as it was only.
Oh, yeah, for the
7 feet
remote
away
control.
from-
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Ours was just a dial. I think we eventually got one that had
Oh my gosh, it's
yeah.
crazy. Like, and when I think about it now, because like I'm leading a different life.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s. I'm separated. I own businesses. I travel the country, and now you see what things are. We're electric cars. We're
Yeah.
technology.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's where comedy. To me, comedy keeps it. Like,
Yeah.
as internet comedian, it's still a talent. You have to be able to get on stage, make strangers laugh. To me, that's still the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You could be a singer, so bad singers aren't going to go on stage. They try. they do karaoke nights. But a bad singer is not going to go in front of a couple of hundred people and try to sing. They know they're a bad singer.
Yeah.
A comedian, you're going to go in front of a couple of hundred people, in my case, sometimes a couple of thousand people,
Yeah.
and try to be funny.
Yeah.
So
now,
now,
do you have times, this just popped in my head, but do you have times where you go in and you've got like this whole game plan? Because I'm assuming
you always have to. That's
yeah,
the key.
you're writing your jokes. You got
You got to
your game
do it.
plan.
You got to. What happens is you create a set. Right. You start out 5 minutes. If you can be funny for 5 minutes. Now 5 minutes. I'm dancing around on stage for 5 minutes. But back then, you got 5 minutes to be funny. That's opening joke to closing joke.
Yeah.
So your key is you master the 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
Then you master the 8. Then you master the 15. Once you've mastered the 15, and you got to do that a couple of hundred times, because the way you do that is like studying for a test. You do index cards. You do topics. So with me, I know if I'm doing a long set, I'm gonna have 7 topics, and I have jokes about each of the 7 topics. I'm gonna put them in the order that I want to talk about them about. Then I'm gonna see how it flows through the audience. I may not get to all 7 topics.
Gotcha.
I'm only get to 3 because maybe the
One of
audience
the
loves
picks,
topic
yeah.
1. Or maybe they hated 2 and 3. You got to jump to 4. So you got to be able to move around with that.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember that what you think is funny, not everybody else does. So you're looking for reactions from the crowd, right? You're looking to see, can you get their interest?
Yeah.
And that's the master of comedy. Like if I sing a song and, you like it, you're going to like it.
Right.
You came to hear music. But when you come to hear comedy, that might not be your brand of comedy.
Well, and I would think it'd be really tough too, because I think, like, I'm more of a sophomoric guy comedy. Christine is very highbrow comedy,
Well,
and
it's
so
crazy now because it depends what you want to. You're gonna do penis and vagina jokes,
Right.
Or you're gonna do, we stay away from politics because politics is so sensitive. Most people stay away from color. Like I'm the only Hispanic comedian because I was on tour with Faison Love for 5 years. I'm the only Hispanic comedian that was on tour in all these urban cities and get up there. I say the N word. I grew up with the N word.
yeah,
That's where I grew up. And first time that it really came up, which I didn't even realize that, I was part of a group that put together the first urban award show. This is about 7, 8 years, it might even be longer than that, 8, 9 years ago. And they put together this beautiful thing at the Apollo. And I was probably the only unknown comic. Everyone was either, so that you had D.L. Hughley, George Wallace, Adele Givens, Joe and Guy, every name in urban comedy. And then there were the up-and-coming urban comedians. And I was the only one that the producer thought was funny, saw me on social media, and put me into the group. So now I was also one of only 2 Hispanic comics. Even the Hispanic comic there was well-known. And I go, and they want me to open the show. So I have to go stand up in front of this crowd of
comics.
comics and just people that
Yeah.
are looking and be funny.
Yeah,
So I had to go there, and I had my son there, he's videoing, and I had to tell my story.
yeah,
I said, listen, while my cousins were out in front of the bodegas, which is like the delis, the Spanish delis, playing dominoes in their wife beaters, I was running around with I said the N-word, in the projects learning how to shoot dice. So I had to break that ice.
yeah,
And every comedian up there, George Wallace, so many of them just like, oh my gosh, this guy's so funny.
yeah.
And that's how I ended up starting to go on tour with a lot of comics because I brought a different flair. It wasn't the same type of comedy. Here I am Hispanic, and I could do mainstream. I've opened for Louis C.K. before. I've opened for other white comics that are, and I can do mainstream rooms. I
Yeah.
do JP's comedy here in
In
Gilbert, and that's an all-white crowd of Gilbert. I live in Gilbert. So that type of diversity, I guess, makes the mind always thinking. And so I would do that. Like, think about it. Mississippi's never seen a Puerto Rican before. They're there to see the black headliner
Yeah.
and the other comics that they know, Def Jam, Comic View.
Yeah.
Here I am, somebody they don't know. I got to go up there and I got to make them laugh.
Right.
So, but they don't know my history. I come from New York. I grew up knowing the projects and things like that. So
Yeah.
I talk to them. First joke I said in Mississippi, I'm like, you guys know you free, right?
Oh, shoot.
And they looked at me like, I'm like, because the way you guys talk backwards. Hey, baby, I'm going to go back over there. I'm like, how did you learn that? Like, and they all start cracking up.
That's awesome.
So like, and I know how to break that ice. So that way people don't feel uncomfortable. And that's the main thing. The main thing is not to make people feel uncomfortable.
Then do you feel comedy has gotten harder as we've moved, as society's moved?
It was going that way, and I think it's changed.
Okay.
I think what happened is in the last 2 years, things took a turn because it was going through cancel culture. I shot my comedy special, and it was hard. They didn't want to show it and produce it. Netflix was like, oh, we can't talk about that. I talk about sexuality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that was a topic they want. I said the word retarded. People like, I'm like, the only people that have a problem with the word retarded are white people. Because they don't want to talk to their kids like that. That was a term of endearment when I was growing up. My dad would be, are you retarded for doing that? I'm like, to me, that was him telling me he loved me.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you're not going to tell your son, hey, little Larry, are you special needs? No, sometimes little Larry's retarded, just like little Jose, little Ray. Like, there's this, retarded is just a reference. But they didn't like that word. And then sexuality. When did everything become about a letter? What letter you represent? Now, you don't need all those letters. You only need the second letter, G.
Yeah.
Gay covers everything. And we love you. Love who you want to love.
Right.
Be who you want to be with. Stop trying to bully me, a 50-year-old man. Stop trying to bully me to try. We don't remember what the letters are, and they keep adding letters. I'm like, what's asexual? Asexual is the first letter after Q. I had to Google it. I'm like, what do? You do yourself? You do yourself? What's asexual? Because we've been all asexual all our lives, all of us. It's called masturbation. That's what asexual means. So they didn't like those topics when we talked about it. And I was like, well, that's my brand of humor because people think about it. Older generation.
Yeah.
The ones that want to cancel it, sorry, it sucks to be. So it did become a little harder depending on where you can talk about things. But I think as long as you don't insult people, like you don't go out there to say hateful things. Some comedians go out and say hateful things.
Yeah.
As long as you don't go out to be derogatory, I love whoever you love. I just don't understand why they get the whole month of June. Really, I love June. They get a whole month. You're not gay 12 months out of the year, only in June. Last week was the Puerto Rican Day Parade. We get 1 day in New York. That's it. And then when it's over. So I'm like, I think we make exceptions for things that we don't need to make exceptions for.
Yeah.
And I think that's what alienates people or makes them feel that way. And then it's the upbringing. I think everything people see on streaming and I can't even say TV no more. It's because everything is streaming and on social media.
Yeah.
Because even TV is, you can't watch certain things.
Right.
Like everything, it's like careful. And that's what I feel. I feel like it is what it is. You're going to love or hate me.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I'm going to be that a-hole no matter what. But it's like Trump, right? People, I get a lot of backlash of being a minority and being a Republican. They all, you're a MAGA, No, I'm not MAGA. I said, I believe in conservative ideologies. I believe in their platforms. Not all of them, a lot of them, because I believe we give out too much free. I think my grandparents, not my parents, my grandparents were, my grandmother was on welfare. Oh, but she did that because she was raising 9 kids.
Yeah.
And my grandfather wasn't around. But at that point, she couldn't work until a certain time in her life. So how do you raise 9 kids at that point? And you're an immigrant.
Yeah.
She was from Puerto Rico at the time, even though Puerto Rico is a commonwealth. But the thing is, if you raise families right, you can give them fish to eat, but you're better off teaching them how to fish.
Yeah.
And I learned that actually moving to Arizona. It was like you want to be to a point where the difference between conservative and liberals is one believes in more government, more taxes. The other one believes in less government, less. They both have quirky and screwed up platforms.
Yep.
But in the end of the day, you pick the one that you feel more. So if you're more toward a liberal end, be liberal. You want to be more conservative, but then you have right.
Yeah.
You got extreme right, extreme left.
Yeah. There's extremes on both sides for sure.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct. It's one of those things like, it's the same thing with me. To know me is to love me or hate me. And what happens is, that's what I feel like with the president. I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't.
Yeah.
And people don't like that harsh reality of life. That's what kind of differentiates me. We're comedy within business.
Yeah.
But for the most part, which is what you get.
Yeah.
And that's where we lose focus. We don't see things that way. That's why I think comedy breaks the ice.
Yeah.
Because very rarely have I ever performed and people are like, you weren't that funny. Most of the time, if you go to my IG, people comment, They're like, oh my God, you were so funny last night. I've never heard of you before or whatever.
Yeah.
And comedy's my vice. I
Yeah.
don't make comedy doesn't pay a bill for me.
Wait a second. What?
Comedy doesn't. I mean,
Thought you're rolling.
yeah, everybody thinks that now. Comedy doesn't pay a bill. My businesses do.
Yeah.
But that allowed me to go after my love.
Yeah.
My love of comedy. My love of being on stage,
Yeah.
talking crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you? I know you started comedy when you moved here, right? But when growing up,
My dad brought
were you
me-
acting out?
Of course,
Class clown?
absolutely. I was always the funniest guy.
Okay.
So my dad used to buy me until I could steal them from the store. Truly Tasteless Jokes. It's a whole series. There was these books. So Truly Tasteless Jokes. You can look it up. It's so funny. Man, there must be 50 of those books. And they're like the greatest joke stories. Then it was like, some of them were raunchy, some of them were funny. And then it was all an Irish, a Scottish, and a Jew walk into a bar, that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm reading that at 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
I grew up when I didn't find out I was a spick until I was about 12 years old. I'm at my best friend's house. I'd never met his dad. I'm having cereal. It's only me in the kitchen. And he was an Italian guy, a mob guy. He walks into the kitchen and he yells out to his wife. And, his wife was named Sally at the time. He said, "Yo, Sal," just like Italians do. He's like, "Who's the freaking spick in the kitchen?"
Oh, jeez.
And I was sitting there like, I'm
He's
12
like,
years
"What?"
old. I had to go home and ask my dad.
What
"Who?"
is that? Who said that?
I was like, "Mr. Falcone," and my dad's like, he said, "Next time you tell him you don't want you don't want your dad to come over." I saw racism, not the hard racism that happens now, but
Yeah.
I saw to me it was real racism, which partial ignorance, partial just not knowing.
Yeah.
Because I think the difference is, if you get raised a certain way, you just don't know. Now people say, "Oh, you should know better." Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. If you don't grow up around minorities, and then even in this world now, I'm racist.
Yeah.
I talk about everybody. I'm equal opportunity. My own race,
Yeah.
white, black, Hispanic, Indian. Indians they're the ones I'm probably the hardest on. Because I'm like, if you're gonna call me to collect the bill, you can't talk to me in an accent, right? You're not gonna do that. If you're gonna sell me anything, you ain't talking to me into a heavy and tell me your name is Bob.
Yeah.
No, your name's Muhammad, and tell me what do you really want.
Yeah.
So exposing reality, I think, is comedy lets you expose the reality of the world we live in.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest driving force.
Yeah.
On anything.
That's awesome. Did you have anybody in your life that was a mentor through issues, problems, things? You mentioned you were married young.
My dad was my hero.
Okay.
Dad and mom, my dad raised it. So he was definitely, people say that, a lot of money, he was successful. So that was my main mentor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes from a big family. My grandparents were together, had 3 kids. My dad was one of 3. Then they divorced, and one had 6 kids, one had 5 kids.
Oh my goodness.
So we end up, it's about 14 uncles and aunts.
Wow.
So, and then I have hundreds of cousins. So I would have to say a little part of all my uncles. And then my mom comes from a family of 10. She had 6 brothers and there were 4 girls.
Wow.
So I took a little bit, and I have to tell you that all my uncles and aunts, great people. I think all of them are family people. They all had kids. So I watched these, I truly had people that I looked up to, that for different reasons.
Yeah.
One might have taught me to play basketball. The other one taught me business. On my mother's side, they were all snooty. It was like a different type of Puerto Rican. My father's side of the family was like the down home. But my mother's side was the snooty side. But those uncles, they showed better lives. The ones on my dad's side, they were great guys and they were more down to earth. So that's where the joking came from and the being open and big family parties that would go in drinking and playing cards and dancing and that type of thing. So seeing my family like that, I grew up big family. So that encouraged me family-wise.
Yeah.
Then, for whatever reason, that's why I dropped out of school and everything to be a young dad. I wanted to be married. That's what my father did.
Yeah.
So I did that, retarded. I should have just stayed in school. But it's funny, that's what I wanted to do at the time. So I grew up a little bit harder than what I should have. I had to do it all over again. Not to say I didn't want any of my children, but I would have stayed in school or taken the opportunity to go into the service
Yeah.
when it came back around. but I led my own hard luck. And then people I met in my life, I had friends at different stages of your life, right? You meet people that encourage you. So I was always intrigued with business. First, I started out law enforcement. That didn't work out too well because I had this little bad bone inside of me. And me growing up with the mob friends and things like that, sidetracked that a little bit. But I met some really interesting people. When I really got my stuff together, they were just people that were just, and the common denominator, they were all family men, very stand-up people. And that's what kind of gauged my life.
Yeah.
So I want to say, and I've probably looked up to all my children because I have some great kids. I look up to them because I see me in them, and then I see them living, like, I can only imagine how it is to live in today's world at that age.
Yeah.
To grow up, my youngest is 23. So to grow up to that age now, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I can only imagine to have all these opportunities, cell phones. Now, I had one of the first cell phones, too. My first cell phone was in 1989. I had the big bag phone.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I was doing bad things. My first cell phone bill was $3,000.
No kidding.
AT&T.
Oh, my God.
$3,000. It was $1 a minute, and the phone just kept dropping the first month. Needless to say, I probably only had the phone for about 4
Crazy.
months.
Yeah.
The bill was crazy. And then the first flip phone that came out, Motorola, like I had the first of those in technology. I always had to have those things. That was a part of me that was just always intriguing and always wanted to.
Yeah.
That's like now. I drive nice cars and stuff like that, but I live good. But I work hard. You work hard and you want to live good. I wish I was a little bit more humble, a little bit more subtle, but that's always me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I look at myself and I think one of the things that has been coming up quite a bit in these conversations is self-reflection and looking back and going, okay, like you just said, like it's weird because I feel the same way. Like had I known then what I know now, what would I have changed?
Yeah, but would you be worth what you are? Would you be who you are?
No.
If you didn't go through.
No, yeah, I had to go through.
That's
the
the
things that I
recipe.
went through. Right.
Like
So,
two eggs, a cup of water. That's what our life is.
Yeah.
Would we have gotten to where we are now if we did it differently? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Fate is fate.
No.
I learned that. Now, taking care of your body, I'm about 195 pounds. At my heaviest, I was probably about 280.
Wow.
So I go to the gym a couple times. My separation probably contributed to that a little bit, but it was just a better lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, owning businesses, being able to do whatever I want,
Yeah.
dating, things like that are all different now. But I think it makes me a better comic.
Yeah.
Makes me a better father. Makes me a better friend. Like all of those have been contributed because that was the recipe. This recipe I put together. So like you said, self-reflection is interesting because of course there's things that we probably shouldn't have done or we would have done differently.
And aren't you glad there was no cell phones back then to record?
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you that it was cell phone cameras really didn't get big until early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I want to say when I moved to Arizona, I still had a flip phone and it just started taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say probably 4 or 5 is when the cameras take some pictures, but you still couldn't download them. They were still on SIM cards.
I say no SIM cards to track your every move.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't even imagine now. Even now, cell phones and cameras, and my phone did some crazy. The other day, it started recording.
Yeah.
It started recording a message, started recording a conversation and sent it as a message to someone. Oh, yeah. And
Oh, my God.
If I was talking about I'm
It's
glad,
wait.
I'm glad I cut off when I did.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have been the same.
Huh. That's crazy.
I would have had some explaining to do.
Yeah. With regards to the comedy stuff, is there a venue that you love to perform at or that you would love to perform at?
What I've done, so I'm hitting some of my bucket list. So here in Arizona, I know you brought up Mic Drop. Arizona has the largest club in the country, Mic Drop. Excuse me, not Mic Drop, Stand Up Live.
Stand Up Live.
So Stand Up Live is...
You just played there last weekend?
Last week, the week before last. Last week we were in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. But that club is phenomenal. Like doing the Phoenix Club and being able... So the headline I'm with now, Gary Owen, he sells out. He's been hot, social media. And he's been in a lot of movies. He was with Kevin Hart in Ride Along, and he was in Think Like a Man, and a lot of movies. And He's a great guy. He's a white comic, urban, so he's probably the most successful white urban comic in the country. But he sold out 4 out of 5 shows there.
Wow.
And the one show he didn't sell out was only 400 people.
Only.
Yeah, only. So it's just an unbelievable club, unbelievable feeling. Certain clubs around, I tell you what, the club that's given me the most love the last 2 years was Baltimore. Go figure. They are hard, and that's a hard crowd. That club holds 500.
Okay.
We had to add 3 shows, so we did 8 shows.
Wow.
8 shows.
Wow.
We just did 8 shows in Dallas, Texas, and those were all sold out.
Wow.
That club wasn't as big, but
Was it 8 shows, what, over 4, 5
weekend,
days?
3 days.
3 days.
So we was like 2 Friday, 3 Saturday, 3 Sunday.
When you do that, I can only imagine, like, just exhaustion.
Exhausted. I'm yawning now. Just came back from Fort Lauderdale. We did 6 shows there, and all 6 shows were sold out. And today's Wednesday.
How do you keep your energy up?
I don't try to hang out like I was young anymore. I get up early. I still get up early to start my day, and I go to bed at a reasonable time. So I really don't have an after life. I'm more of a reserved person. I live by myself now. I just running the businesses, traveling on the weekends. I just respect my body.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier. I don't drink. I'm a occasional drinker, a couple of drinks at a function.
Yeah.
Like I won't go home now and have a drink or a beer. Like,
Yeah.
I don't smoke. So I have a little bit more respect for my body, understanding that like hypertension killed my dad, lung cancer killed my mom. And then I see other people that have their parents are living into their 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
The one denominators, the majority of them don't do those things.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how they live longer. I love life. And then I got these beautiful kids. They're a pain in the neck. My kids are all older, but they're a pain. But I love them. Beautiful kids. They're beautiful family people. My grandkids. There's nothing like being a grandparent. Man, I know that they always say that, but my grandkids have such all different personalities, and thank God they're beautiful, because there's nothing worse than having an ugly grandkid.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, it's like, oh my gosh, look at little Joe. I'm like, little Joe's head's lopsided. Did you know that?
It's so adorable.
I know. It's like
a
when you
little
see
old man.
I love social media, but I love social media because you could people watch and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like have to stand at the mall like we used to do.
Why are you staring at me?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to her husband?
Yeah.
He's cross-eyed. Like, it's so funny when you just people watch on social media. And that's the type
I say some of the stuff your post.
when I post, when I see crazy stuff in the street.
What's your Instagram handle? At Rob Laugh?
Yeah, Rob Laughs. ROBLAFFS.
Yeah. You got to follow some of your stuff you post.
And people say that, are you fat
stuff.
shaming?
Oh.
No, the designer of those shorts did not want her to wear those. I'm not
I
shaming
will
the
tell you.
body. I'm shaming the fact that
The
somebody
fact that
sold her those shorts. Who's the cashier?
And somebody let her out of the house wearing them.
Yeah, and she actually, and the fact that she actually looked in the mirror and said, damn, this looks good on me. Well, so I see that, or like you see people walking around like the airport, my airport shots are always the best ones.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I didn't fly Southwest, because Southwest, they let,
You don't know.
You don't know who the hell you're going to sit next to.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not bougie, but I do status, and I know that ugly people and big people don't normally pay extra to be up in better seats.
Yeah.
They just pick the cheapest ticket.
Yeah.
So that when they're usually in group 7, group 8, group 9, I'm group 1 or 2 all the time. And I very rarely sit next to somebody that shouldn't be sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Southwest, man, you ever seen once that group C came in, people are looking like, holy shit, I wish he doesn't sit next to me.
You got your hood on,
You
your
got your
glasses,
hood on, you're
your
expanding
earbuds
yourself in the
in, you're
thing.
like bags sitting next to you in the seat.
Farting on purpose so you smell like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing you do. But that's comedy. People talk about that, but it's real world. I take real pictures.
Yeah.
And don't think I'm the only one that looks at that.
No.
I just share it sometimes.
Well, one of the reasons I love going to Disneyland. Not for the rides.
I
Not
went
for
4 times last year.
I love just watching the people. And really, part of it is I love seeing the kids that it's their first time, because it just reminds me of my kids and their
I
first
love
time.
Disney.
Yeah.
I love Disney. The Disney experience, it's almost like a cult.
Yeah, it is.
It's almost like a cult, but I grew up loving
Yeah.
Disney World. So last year I went to Disney World once, Disneyland 3 times.
Wow. Yeah. See, and we go, and I love watching people, and it's like
I went as an adult
and
with
then you
a
think
date, not with
people like,
the person I'm dating.
why are you
I
wearing
wasn't.
that?
I didn't go because I was taking my grandkids. I I'm not going there like Pop on the cart with the Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah,
no.
no.
I go there and have a great time. But the people watching at Disneyland,
it's next level.
And next level besides,
Oh,
that's crazy. But yeah, I love that. People say that's so cruel. Oh, you're making fun of people. Yes, partially true. Partially true. But I'm not making fun of them. We're laughing with them. People don't realize that part.
right.
So it's never to shame anybody. A lot of times, sometimes I'll try to block out their face or take it from the side. But sometimes stuff is outrageous.
Yeah.
So you just share it. And people love that. And I lose followers and friends sometimes. It's like, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, you know what? Then you just unfollow me. That's a very simple task. Don't follow me. Don't come see me.
If you don't like it, it's kind of like we talk about this all the time. But Holmberg in the morning, listen to his show in the morning. It's like, how does he get away with some of the stuff that he says?
And he loves. I was on Holmberg a couple of weeks ago, and that's why he loves having me on because we talk about real things. But it's okay. He really should be on satellite TV. Satellite radio.
Really go full in.
Go full it. You know what? He's a great guy. He's a great
But
guy.
you think, and then they get people complaining about it. It's like, okay, if you don't want to hear it, change it. It's really easy.
Don't impose your will or your taste because you have options now.
Right.
It's not like he's knocking at your door telling these jokes.
No.
Or he's calling you on the phone. You have a choice. Don't listen to you like the station. You already know that he's gonna talk in the morning.
And it's
it used to be like that with like the old Howard Stern. That's how he was. That's what made him unique. That's what made him rich and famous.
Yep.
It's almost like politics now. You got some that love the extreme, some that love the conservative.
Yeah.
And you just got to know where you belong. I'm a firm believer of keeping it real.
Yeah.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
If you keep it real, people choose. And if you're still good when they keep it real, then you're good.
Yeah.
With me, people know where I come from. They know what they get. So I don't get hurt. And I'm still gonna love everybody. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I really don't have a lot of malice in my heart.
I
That's the
just
one
feel
thing
like
I learned.
you treat me well, I'm gonna treat you well.
And then even if you don't treat me well, it's okay. I still love you.
Yeah. You're just gonna trash talk.
I'm gonna talk shit about you for sure. Yeah, that's gonna be what it is. There comes a price with
Yes, for sure.
like TSA. I got to be careful. They're going to take away my TSA status one day because I think those are the biggest retards in the world. Like I had a big thing at the airport about what I had posted. I don't know if you saw it. It's a video I took about 4 or 5 months ago, and they're patting down this 90-year-old man out of a wheelchair. I'm like, if he's going to bomb the plane, kudos to him.
Right.
Like, where did he get the money?
Right.
For the C4. And, but do you really think he wants to kill himself up in the air? Like, and it's stupidity like that. And I'm asking him, what are you checking him for? He's a drug runner? What is this, Clint Eastwood and the Mule? Like, what are you doing? Are you guys retarded?
Right.
And it led to a whole big thing with TSA. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah, because then I guess that's the other thing I struggle with things. Everybody at the airport needs a wheelchair. So they hire like Walmart people to push around lazy fat people at the airport to get to their gate, right? So my thing is, this guy gets upset. He's like, yeah, you should mind your business. I'm like, yeah, you should get another job. Like, what are you doing? Because I see that all the time.
Right.
Like, people in wheelchairs first. No, they got here to the airport. They didn't have a wheelchair. They take away the fun out of being handicapped. I was like, really? Like, shit, where's the regular handicapped people anymore? Right? You ever go to a casino? There's 800. Only handicapped people go to the casino? They want the
Play
elderly.
bingo.
They want to play, across the street. I was walking, I-70. I'm like, I'm coming over here to the podcast. I want to go play a bingo
bingo.
game at the American Legion across the street.
9 grandkids. Or you're going to have 9.
No, 9. The ninth
9
one was
now.
just born on Friday.
Okay. Congratulations.
Now that's what life is about. That's my legacy.
Are they all here in Arizona?
Yeah, they're all, no, two of them are in New York,
Okay.
but 7 of them are here in Arizona.
Wow.
And to me, that's the best.
That's awesome.
And then I don't really associate with them till they have a limit, like 11, 12 years old,
And then you're done.
because they're retarded before that. They act stupid and say dumb things. You don't want a retarded grandchild. So until I know that they're able to hold a decent conversation, I don't call them. Like
Gotcha.
I buy them their cell phones.
Yeah.
I do all of that because grandkids are a reflection of yourself.
So are you with them when they're a little small little child?
And then
once
I-
they start talking,
At
you're
about
like,
2 years old, I leave them alone.
Okay.
Because sometimes they get annoying. And then I pick them up at about 11.
Gotcha.
And they can come back and talk to Grandpa.
So are you gonna roll back into the t-ball, softball?
So they've
coaching
tried.
stuff?
So my oldest granddaughter, she really didn't want to pick up softball. Otherwise, I thought she was the one that was going to get me tuned into that. And she's 16. So she's a great flag football player.
Okay.
So because now that's a varsity sport here in Arizona for girls, which is great. So I never got a chance to coach her. And then I just got to see if I have time. I think that's the one part that I may skip. My son was coaching his boys a little bit in some flag football. It's not the same anymore. And then you got to have time and commitment.
Yeah.
And then what happens now is I spent almost 30 years coaching. I was coaching since I was 16 years old.
No kidding.
I was volunteering when I was a kid in high school because they needed coaches.
Yeah.
So I'd coach little younger teams and things like that. So I coached from, it might be even longer, but I mean, I had some time off in between, right? So, but I started at 16 and I probably stopped coaching at,
Wow.
So there's a
Long history there.
long history there of coaching. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed coaching, teaching children, especially those that really get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Sportsmanship, strategy,
Yeah.
how to win, how to lose. That's a talent.
How to lose with grace.
How to lose with grace. And then I found that in more affluent neighborhoods, both parents come to it. For the most part, sometimes it's only one. So I started out coaching girls because I would find that dads would not be associated, not be into their girls' sports. They
Interesting.
would turn that over to the women.
Yeah.
So I first was coaching girls basketball, young, and I would find that it was just a lot more single parents. And then when I was coaching softball, and I coached for a lot of years here and all over the state, it was such an honor for me, these young ladies coaches. And like now, all these ladies that I coach, a lot of them, I got a lot of girls into college. I want to say there's probably about 30 plus girls that I coached that went and played at college levels. I coach hundreds of girls.
Yeah.
But to really play those 30, 40 girls in particular that played at college. But then now all these girls, I get these thank yous. They have their own families.
Wow.
I'm always Coach Rob. I took them. We played all over the country. When I coached my daughter's club team. We'll bankrupt the family.
Yeah.
But we played all over the country. We played in Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Oklahoma, New York. We traveled, California, Texas.
No kidding.
My daughter, when we were at the height of club ball, we played 100 games a year.
Really? Oh my gosh.
100 games a year.
That's crazy.
11 months out of the year.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't realize there was that much. It's funny because where I grew up, we didn't have. I mean, we had Babe Ruth. That was the closest
Right,
thing.
and
To
when
like
I
a
grew up,
club,
that's how
you
it
know?
was. Yeah,
It's like,
Babe Ruth,
but
yep.
now it's like everybody's got club. My neighbor's got 3 daughters. All 3 of them are into volleyball, and they're every weekend
Volleyball club, that was the big deal.
going different
Yeah,
directions.
volleyball is probably the biggest. Soccer was, and then I think volleyball took over for
That's
the club
crazy.
scene now.
It's incredible.
Yeah, because I want to say that soccer, softball, volleyball, those 3 right there. So, like I said, and that accomplishment, like to see these young adults turn into family people and things like that, because there's some tragedies involved. I started seeing that. I saw, especially with young ladies, more than was the bullying. Team here that had a young lady that was bullied and she killed herself. And to me, that was incredible because I couldn't imagine not being there for my child
Yeah.
that was going through a bullying, and that she got so messed up by it that she felt that taking her life. And that's the stress kids have today. I don't envy parents today because they're up against the phone. They're up against peer pressure that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
This peer pressure is unbelievable. And that's why it's so important that you get your kids involved in things, because everything is about everything other than family value.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we lose focus. And then broken homes are such a prevalent thing now.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to be a single parent or an outside dad and then get your kids and then still be a part of their lives and things like that. And that's what we're up against.
Yeah.
So not to be Debbie Downer, but that's just the reality.
For sure.
That's part of my background.
Yeah.
My background, that's what's developed me. People say, well, how did you get to, or what do you That's how I was developed. I
Yeah.
was developed with the family structure. I was developed in adversity. I was developed love everybody. Great qualities that my parents taught me. And then one day you gotta be the parent.
Yeah.
I have some in my family that now I'm having to support and be there for. And I'm like, I don't want to be an adult all my life. I want to be a kid. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I went to Disney 4 times last year.
Right, right.
That's why I shoot off to Hawaii when I'm not on tour. Anytime I can get away. I was upset because I wasn't on tour this weekend. And I rent the house when I'm not there, and it's rented.
Oh,
You
so
know,
you can't
almost
go.
the whole month.
Yeah.
So I can't go until July. But I'm performing in Vegas in July.
All right.
I'll be at the Palms Hotel July 12th. So that's a big gig. I have a couple of weeks off, and then we have the Vegas gig.
Okay.
And then I got a busy summer after that. I'm in South Carolina, D.C., New York, Sacramento. Like this, it goes right on to Memorial Day.
Do you have a website where people can follow that?
I will soon. What happened was when I shot the special, we took everything down. Websites are only as good as you can upkeep.
Yeah.
So I will develop it the minute I'm going through some personal changes,
Yep.
separation. My businesses, I have 2 businesses that are migrating, that are going through a merger. A couple of those things, when I get by, I know by the end of the year I will. I've had offers. I'm on the talks with Paramount and that to shoot a special at the end of the year.
Nice.
So we're looking at trying to do that. But what happens is you can only put so much on your plate.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So it becomes one of those things where you want to be a creative mind, and you don't want to have all the outside influences. Because I'm funny as can be.
Yeah.
But I'll even be funnier when I don't have all the trials and tribulations behind me.
Now, do you listen to other people's stuff? Obviously, you tour with other comedians, but do you try to keep
Once
it?
in a while, I'll listen more to some podcasts than I will other comedians. It's a thing. Actually, it came up in conversation with the comedian I tour with. He says what happens is sometimes you don't want to listen to other people where you're not going to steal their jokes, but the topic might sound interesting. And then sometimes that comes across that way. So it's like staying away from listening to other comedians
Yeah.
lets you be a little bit more creative.
Gotcha.
Now, if there's a funny comedian, I know Dave Chappelle, I know Kevin Hart. I really can't sit through a Kevin Hart set. As in person, nobody funnier. And Dave Chappelle, nobody funnier. But when they do their set, I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I know some other comedians that have never really made it as big, and I talk to them all the time. And to me, they're the funniest because we have real life conversation and we have real life jokes.
Yeah.
And that's really that's the benefit of the comedy world
Gotcha.
is being able to network. I've met all the big comics. You know, I've done theaters. Like there's
Yeah.
no better feeling to come out and do a comedy theater.
Yeah.
And have a couple of thousand people, make them laugh. Yeah, it's
awesome.
unbelievable. There's no feeling.
Yeah.
Like I get so excited for this Vegas set that it's like, wow. And it's doing the club weekends are great, but theaters when you get a chance to do it. Now the theater we don't do. This particular theater I don't get to do as long of a set. Vegas.
Yeah.
The Palms. You know,
So it's big. It's big.
the 3,000 people, and I've killed them the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I've killed them every time I go out there. And
Well, and if you can get a small percentage of those people that pick
And
up
I
and
do.
start following you, and then they may come at another time when they find you in town, wherever they're from. If
Well,
they're
it
from
was.
somewhere
I
else.
went there, and then I think maybe a month later, I went to your show. People online, they're, that's Rob. That's Rob Rodriguez, a comedian. And it was really cool. They're like, we were at your show last month.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was like, wow, that's great.
Be
you know?
recognized. Yeah.
Be recognized. And then to hear, I'm a humble guy. I'm arrogant, but I'm humble. And I love that people, the best compliments. I love to say goodbye to people after the show, and they always say it. I'm spoiled now. That's when I say, I know when I kill a room, because I want to know, and I let people, hey man, you were awesome. I can't believe you, blah, blah, blah. And then those comments, see it on my IG. That's a satisfying, to me, that's a high.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
Where do you go from here?
You get to a certain age, and it's day by day. My business we had a rough day in business today, not for no other reason that we had to make some changes to some staff and things. That's hard. So my business, when I have about 25 employees, When you're responsible for people like that and you're responsible for their livelihood, you have to be careful.
Heavyweight.
Yeah, you got to be careful. So that's always been the heavyweight. So like I look forward to retiring in a couple of years. This merger is going to help me do that. Because I'm tired of the responsibility. I've had that. I took it on
Yeah.
for 15 years.
What got you into that world? Just out of curiosity.
I started as I loved facilities management, and that was running companies behind the scenes. So it was a big home health care agent that I worked my way up. These guys, records keep until the guy that kind of ran facilities. So they had over 400 people, 50 branches all over the country. So I loved that kind of interaction and things like that. Then I became good friends with the furniture guy. So we were moving companies and we had to move the furniture, cubicles and things like that. And it was so interesting. And that he and I became good friends. Well, I ended up getting fired because I worked for my uncle and he got fired. And then because I was family, I was going to be next. And sure enough, they fired me, so I went to go work for the furnace. This was in the late 90s. And at that time, internet was taken. It was all the dot-coms.
Yeah.
So when all the dot-coms started developing, I started getting involved in beautiful companies in these large skyscrapers in New York. And I'm like, wow, it was a different job. Like I built a couple of floors of the World Trade Center before they went down.
Wow.
Crazy. But it was that interest, doing something different all the time.
Yeah.
And it was almost like being a designer. So we would build all these extravagant, often things and that's what got me into furniture. And then I loved the adversity of just doing something different all the time. And then I got good at it. I've always been a manager, so it was always good. From manager to owner, I was always good at riling up the troops.
Yeah.
And then once I got into business myself, it came a sense of accomplishment and responsibility. So we've done that. A lot of changes. Almost went bankrupt twice, and there's a lot involved with that. So once you get good at it, so that's what got me into the furniture. If you guys, anybody's ever interested, my website is one of them is totalaz.com. You go on there, you'll see all our home furnishings, things that we're selling. We're going to be expanding to an auction type format as well. In addition to what we have, I have a showroom in Phoenix. So if you go to totalaz.com, you see my warehouse address and hours, and you can come by. And I buy great stuff from wholesalers. I don't buy a lot of any one thing. I buy many of specialty things that I like personally.
Gotcha.
So that's how that works.
Okay. Secret sauce. You said you've almost gone bankrupt a couple times. Obviously, you've had some trials and tribulations through there.
Having great friends in the business, in networking. Insurance. You and I have talked insurance a couple of times. We could never get to that point, but there was different reasons. You taught me how to do better insurance, how to keep your classification rates down, things like that. Of course, we have the mutual friends, Doug Hopkins. Everybody knows Doug Hopkins. Learning real estate from him, just seeing how smart he is with his money, things like that. Now, I'll never be that smart, but being a good manager, being a good person, that's the secret sauce is being a good person.
Yeah.
Like my dad said, there's one thing, you can do all kinds of things. The one thing that you can change your appearance, you really can't change your name. You can. He goes, your name, you carry your name. If you carry it well, all the rewards come with that.
Yeah.
Like when my dad died, about 400 people come to the service in New York. The mayor of New York at the time, who didn't even know my dad, and I never seen so many grown men cry. After the service, meanwhile, my dad, I was a little bit, of course, I was heartbroken, but I was always a little sore that he never coached my team, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand what his hustle was. His hustle was to make sure our family never needed. So I saw grown men cry, police officers, family. And I still have some of them, received so many letters, and so many people came up to me personally to tell me how great of a man he was. Now, I know I'll never be that great of a person, but and everything that they wrote about him was that he was probably the most upfront, down-to-earth, nicest person they ever met, polite, you name it. And I always told myself, now, meanwhile, I was already in my 30s when he died. I said, man, I want to grow up to be like him.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to outlive him. So then my trials and tribulations now, most people might say, hey, you know what, he's an asshole, but he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. They know I'll give somebody the shirt off my back. They know if I can't give it to you, I'm going to tell you how to get it.
Yeah.
If I share, if I have knowledge, I'm going to share knowledge. If you just need me to listen, I'm going to try to listen. I'm a talker, but I'm going to try to listen.
Right.
And then if I can give you some advice that you want to hear, I'm not going to tell you what you just want to hear.
Yeah.
I can give you advice, but I think people lose that now.
Yeah.
I've lost some friends. I intimidate people a little when you say secret sauce, because I have friends and people that I associated with that are stagnant in their lives. Because people always say that, like, one time my wife and I were having a conversation, and I'll never forget this. And she told me, she said, I'm envious of you. And I said, why? This is my wife telling me. She said, because you go after what you want, and maybe you might not always get it, but you try hard for it, and a lot of times you do get it. And she's not that type of person.
Yeah.
Sometimes people shy away from that. They won't know what motivates them.
Yeah.
Me, most of the time I motivate whether I fall down or not. If I want something, I'm going to go after it,
Yeah.
whether I get it or not. And a lot of times I've gotten it. So it's one of those things where it's through hard work, perseverance, all the corny stuff. But the two things I would always tell people when they ask me my secret sauce, I call it H&H. I'm always working at it. Trying to be humble, man, that humble is hard.
It is.
And I'm an arrogant guy. I can be a little flashy. And I own 160 pair of sneakers and growing, 170, I think.
Seriously.
And then my wardrobe is
Oh my God,
ridiculous
that's
because I wear it on stage,
Yeah, yeah.
My jewelry alone.
Yankees.
I have 110 Yankee hats,
No kidding.
different colors.
Wow.
Yep, all different colors. Because I wear it, that's my stage.
Yeah, yeah.
So being humble is hard for somebody like me because I have that kind of confidence. But I know that's the key to life. And then the biggest one is to the day I die, is practicing humility. So practicing that humility is, man, that's a mother.
Yeah.
And men are stubborn when they get older. Me, not so much. I've what do you say? I've given in a little bit sometimes. Like I've given myself up to know that I want to be better. I want to live longer. I want to love more. And then I give a lot because I know, and I'm not a religious guy. I was raised a Catholic, did all my sacraments, but I know that the only reason I get blessings is so that I can forward them.
Yeah.
To me, that's the key, because that we all have a selfishness within us, right?
Yeah.
There's always selfish, but you live better living a selfless life,
Right.
instead of a selfish life.
I agree with that. And I feel like for me, and I'm a service-minded person as it is, but if I can do something to help somebody else, it fills me up more than anything.
Without a doubt.
So,
Without a doubt. I do that with laughter. People that come out spend good money.
Yeah.
I make them laugh. I want them to feel good. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm going to do that. And that laughter, man, it lets you forget about what's going on in your life.
yeah.
Who did you just lose? Who's sick? Who's dying? Like I'm going through some tough times in life. Like off air, you and I have talked about this a little bit, and it's hard for me. You find yourself alone
Yeah.
because I'm the one that people look to. So I'm like, man, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't want to be the big brother. I didn't want to be I might have acted like that, but sometimes I just want to
be able to live your life.
I want to just live mine, and it's hard.
Yeah.
And people say that, how do you do that? I do that because I remember those things that I told you. I do that because I know God blesses me. I do that because I know I have gifts. I have gifts to give. And then I also know that when I die, I can't take anything with me.
That's true.
So what happens is the only thing I'm going to leave is my legacy, my grandchildren, my children. And did I raise them well enough to carry on that type of, because we live in this hard world.
Yeah.
Because, they're not going to be ready when the day I go.
Right.
I'm that big in my kids' lives. I know that. But I'm confident enough that I've raised them. Same thing with my employees. I let this company merger go because I want to give them opportunity if I'm not here. And
Yeah.
that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
The company that we're merging with is going to be an employee-owned company. Be security for my employees, and they'll have the opportunity partial owners.
Yeah.
So when I'm done, then that's good. I know I've taken care of everybody.
That's awesome.
But that's really what we do.
Yeah.
Like, same thing with comedy. I'm never going to be the biggest comic. You know, I'm going to be a funny guy, but it fulfills me enough. But I get to, the last couple of weekends, between the last 3 weekends, probably 6,000 people in front of.
Wow.
In 3 weekends.
That's incredible.
Yeah, over 6,000 people.
That's awesome.
That I got a chance to stand up on stage and say, hey, knock, whatever. And
Help them forget about whatever their problem is in that moment.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like making that difference, as corny as it sounds.
No.
But that's that satisfying. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in self-gratification.
Yeah.
And that means
That's awesome. Well, hey, this has been awesome.
we covered, yeah.
Yeah.
I told you we'd go with it.
Yeah,
We,
no, it's crazy because as long as I've known you, I don't think we've ever sat down and just had a conversation.
You don't realize that till you're older, because it's always been to occasion of with friends and things
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
and at different times of life. Like you were going through a different thing at that
Yep.
time of your life. I was going through something else.
Yep.
We would get together. The common thing was playing basketball or football.
Yeah.
Like I missed the
Turkey bowl.
They weren't doing the turkey bowl no more.
No.
Man, we used to have a great time on the
We're all
turkey
too
bowl.
old. I don't know.
Yeah, we got too old with that, but that turkey bowl was good.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it was a great time. Then I've seen you. You became a big community guy, and
Yeah.
what you were doing in Gilbert, and I've seen you come up the ranks in doing your insurance and everything else. It was a big deal. Like I saw you go through that. I saw the struggles you had with your personal life.
Yeah.
But it was like you were always the most polite, most still confident, great type of guy. And that's why I was always fortunate enough to be around those type. That's why, like our mutual friends,
Yeah.
it was always a great thing to be around them because they were all good people. So yeah, we deal with that, and it builds us.
Yeah.
It makes us who we are. Some people say, "Who are you?" I'm a little bit of
Yeah.
everybody.
Yep. Every little path I walk, every little thing I do, every experience that I have, right? We talk about that, not you and I, but I've talked about that where it's, you have these, I can only make decisions based on my experience, right? And it doesn't mean my decision is the right decision. Like you said, I grew up in a very white community in northeastern Washington, and we had one colored kid and we had
Yeah, it's a
migrant
different.
workers. And
You at the furthest point away from the East Coast,
right.
where you couldn't see that. So we're always learning. I
Yeah.
don't know if people realize that, and we're always teaching
Yeah.
through our actions.
Yep.
So and sometimes I get real philosophical with things. Part of it's bullshit, some of it's philosophical, right? But you need a little bit of everything, a little bit of the hard knocks and a little bit of the education.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people lack today. I think they lack the mixture of reality and truth
Yep.
and just being honest with yourself,
Yeah.
because it's hard. I don't envy people that are struggling, and just think everybody's struggling. Somebody's struggling about the light bill today, the
Yep.
car payment,
Yep.
where am I going to live, their health, their children, their siblings, their spouse.
Yep.
Everyone has something going on.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that,
Yep.
right? So, and then it's everyone in your life
Yeah.
is going through something.
Well, and to bring it back to the social media, I think one of the biggest issues we have today is everybody's got those issues. Everybody's got those problems. Everybody's got something going on. And all we see is, look how beautiful I am on the beach. Look how wonderful I am doing this.
There is the other part of it, but you don't want to read, you don't want to see those.
Right.
Because you always hear, like, I think today, which is, I think is probably the most selfish thing anybody could do, is commit suicide. As
Right.
if, a lot of times I say, could I have done,
Right.
could I have been there for them?
Right.
Where was I at when that happened? And honestly, a lot of times you might not be able to make a difference.
Right.
I have a very close friend of mine that deals with depression. And, man, we have a great time together all the time. But sometimes they go into a depression state.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why, because I do everything in my power to make sure they don't have things, and they still come up. And I'm like, what can I do?
Yeah.
You know what they told me? Just be there for me when I need you,
Yeah.
right? And that's deep.
Yeah.
Because and I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet him. Did you ever you never came with us to Vegas?
No.
That used to be the best trips.
Yeah.
So we had a good friend here, and you might have met him here to a function, but his name was Mono, right? So Mono, handsome, 6'4", black guy, eyes, married, unbelievable guy. And this is a couple of years ago. He got diagnosed. 4 years ago, he got diagnosed with. I didn't know much about it, and then I did the research. And the thing that hit me the most, now him and his wife never had kids. said no cure. Average span is 3 years.
Really?
The most anybody's ever lived with it is 10 years. No one's ever lived past 10 years, ever. No medication, no cure. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
A small percentage of people get it. And I watched him deteriorate. Now, he's probably one of the most beautiful people I know. Never heard him say a bad thing about anybody in his life. Never got a chance to be a father. Was always a friend, things like that. To me, I'm like, I couldn't imagine if I was never a dad.
Yeah.
Right? If I never had grandkids. So I watched him deteriorate. So, true story. He starts getting, now, most of the time, what ends up going as they lose all their motor functions is their voice. He kept his voice. Now, I go to see him. Now, he's bedridden. He's 100 pounds.
It's a skeleton.
50 medical bed in his house. And he looked at me. True story. He said, man, I'm so proud of you. What are you talking about? He says, man, I look up to you. I see you traveling, doing your, I remember the first time you performed, and you're living your life. I'm so proud of you. I said, he goes, I look up to you. He says, you inspire me. And I couldn't believe that because he's dying. I'm watching him die.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, because I'm asking him, how you doing? He says, no, how are you doing? That's all he could talk about. He goes, keep me living right now. And he wanted to take his own life. If self-suicide was available, because he said, I can't do it because I can't wipe my own ass. I can't eat. And man, this guy, KK knew him, Dougie knew him, everybody knew him. And I watched, and he told me that day, and he thanked me. He said, thank you. I said, thank me for what? He goes, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being there. It bothers me to this day. He dies 2 months later, and all the money in the world, all the laughter, nothing I could do to save him. I would have given anything for him to live.
Yep.
And to me, that's what people take for granted. Because that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything bad in life. It was like when people get cancers, he didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
He had no cure. He was, man, the gentlest soul, most lovable guy. I miss him to death.
Yeah.
But that's my recipe. That's my secret sauce.
Yeah.
My secret sauce is appreciating life and living every day for what it is. No matter how bad it gets for us. No matter what trials, we're always going to have that. We're always going to have people and things that come at us. No matter what. We're going to lose our homes. My house was foreclosed down back in 2008. And I said, things are replaceable.
Yep.
Health and freedom are not.
Yeah.
And strong mental.
Yeah.
So I said, I watched that, and it's tough, but that's what keeps me going. Right? And good friends.
Yeah.
You know, just surrounding yourself with good people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mental toughness. So that's my story.
Nice.
You know, to that.
Well, dude, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you very
And
much.
I love and good luck with
Thank you.
what you're doing, because I think
Thank you.
one day I will. I've wanted to start a podcast, right?
Yeah.
There's so many of them, and I think that it's always interesting because I think people lose that kind of talent to try to just talk and interview.
Just talk.
Because nobody listens to radio anymore, really.
Right.
They do, but if I can inspire someone and help them by what I do, if something I said is familiar, if somebody wanted to know a little bit about business, reach out to me. Reach out to Jan. He'll give you my number.
Yeah.
I'm there. If somebody wanted to know how to deal with a certain situation with their children and their home or financial or friends or whatever business, I'm there. You know, because I realize that's the gift I have. So if I can give that advice out, then I hope somebody else could benefit from it.
Yeah.
So besides being funny and trying to live life good.
Yeah. Well, appreciate that. Thank you very much.
For sure. Thanks for
I've
having
got
me on.
something for you. Everybody that comes on the show gets a little gift. And so for you, whatever your drink of choice, orange juice, milk,
Oh, very nice.
cocktail.
Beautiful.
I know you as Big Rob, and so it has Big Rob on it, has the year. It's
Wow.
engraved by a friend of mine who owns Rock Sync Calligraphy. And,
Very nice.
So that's
This
your,
is awesome, man. Thank you.
yeah.
I love these little collectibles. That's what I do now. Collecting just beautiful. Like I go to Hawaii, I buy anything with turtles and surfboards.
Oh, yeah.
That's my big thing now.
Nice.
And freaking that damn Mickey Mouse, boy. I got more Mickey Mouse stuff now that I get that's, but wow, this is beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. I very much appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your time
Anytime,
tonight.
anytime, you know that. So
Yeah. So,
whatever we can do, definitely.
Awesome.
All right.
well, thank you.
Heck,
Thank you very much.
you. Yep. This is Rob Rodriguez, and I definitely went above and beyond.
Connections, the kind that heals from Palm Springs to Pine Top Grace. APN's network spans every place. Above Par Network, we're going above and beyond, reaching new heights. In networking realms, scaling the heights. From mixers to golf, our spirits unite. APN's the beacon, our guiding light. So here's to APN, where dreams align. In every connection, a chance to shine. Above and beyond, we'll always strive. In APN's network, we truly thrive.
Like, share, and subscribe to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. Elevate your mindset, one episode at a time.